I was very interested. This is really a reflection on a comment that came out today. And I want to look at the royal title that's both sacred and historically subverted, Fidei Defensor. You can find it, hold on a second, here, on, on any coin. So this is a 50 pence piece. It says Elizabeth II, and then on the other side it says DG, by the grace of God, Reg, Queen, FD, Fidei Defensor 1997. And it's emblazoned, therefore, on our coins. It's invoked at coronations, and now, to the apparent horror of some reactionaries on social media, it's being interpreted in a pluralistic way by King Charles III. So, beginning with the historical irony worthy of Thomas More himself, since in fact he may be the unacknowledged ghost behind the whole story. The title Fidei Defensor was conferred by Pope Leo X on Henry VIII in 1521 in recognition of a theological broadside against Martin Luther entitled Assertio Septem Sacramentorum, the Defence of the Seven Sacraments, a pamphlet condemning Luther's attack of the sacraments and upholding the Catholic tradition, the Catholic doctrine of transubstantiation, which is simply a sort of Thomist or an Aristotelian defence of the real presence in the sacrament, in Holy Communion, and trying to find an Aristotelian scientific explanation for that. Now, the official story is that Henry wrote it, but behind the throne stood a mind far sharper, Sir Thomas More, until his head got cut off, Lord Chancellor, future martyr. Erasmus suspected, and most scholars agree, that More was heavily involved, if not the principal author. And Leo was delighted. The papal bull granted Henry the title, praising his orthodoxy and his courage, and so the King of England was styled Fidei Defensor, a papal honour in defence of Catholic truth. And yet, not a decade later, the same king had declared himself supreme head of the Church of England, broken with Rome, and executed the very man who, ghost-like, wrote the Catholic tract. Predictably, after Henry's break with Rome and the excommunication that followed, Pope Paul III revoked the title. Officially, Fidei Defensor was dead. But titles like churches can be nationalised, and so in 1544, the English Parliament passed an act restoring the title by statute, not as a papal honour, but as a sovereign claim. And from then on, English monarchs used it as a sign of their supreme religious authority, not in communion with Rome, but as heads of the Reformed Anglican Church outside Rome. And herein lies the adaptation. A title granted to defend Catholicism was transformed into a Protestant claim of independent spiritual jurisdiction. The Fidei Defensor became a constitutional fiction, co-opted away from its original purpose. And the coronation oath of 1688, cited with thunderous indignation by commentators such as Roy Vetz 4900, was indeed a Protestant construct. Instituted after the Glorious Revolution, it was designed to ensure that future monarchs upheld the Protestant settlement, and the monarch swore to maintain the Protestant Reformed religion established by law, and that has remained in force, though it's more honoured in form than in fervour. To quote Roy Vetz 4900, the king, defender of the faith, broke the 1688 oath of office, which he has no right to do. He is the head of the Church of England, Protestant. He has abdicated his duties, and ATM is committing treason against the people of England, a Protestant country. This argument, part legal, part theological, part pub rant, fails to recognise that the monarchy, like the Church of England, has itself evolved. And when Charles III mused years ago about being defender of faiths, there was outrage from corners that think the Enlightenment never happened. Yet we never formally abandoned the traditional title, and at his coronation he took the oath as required, pledging to uphold the Protestant religion. But the symbolic act also included representatives of multiple faiths, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, and was a constitutional gesture of hospitality, not apostasy. it's entirely within the spirit, though perhaps not the stricter letter, of the modern monarchy. And Charles remains supreme governor of the Church of England, and in a multi-faith society, his role, like the crown itself, now operates by tact as much as by text. And the title FD, Fidei Defensor, has appeared on British coinage. Look, I got another one here. This is a pound coin. Again, Elizabeth II, DG, Reg, FD. I can't see the date on this one. Oh yes, 2017. That one's quite recent. And it's appeared on coinage since 1714 under George I, and it was briefly removed under Edward VIII, who had no coronation, was omitted from certain Commonwealth coinage. But under Elizabeth II, the title has flourished not as a sign of theological rigour, but of constitutional continuity. And it's important to say this is a title whose meaning is not fixed by papal intention or Protestant rigidity. And its meaning evolves with the monarchy itself. And among other things, of course, the coronation was also there was also the Catholic cardinal in Westminster Cathedral as well. As for the astonishing claim made by Roy Vetts 4900, and again I quote, "I stand with Boudica, Boudicca, the first far-right racist nationalist that dared to stand up against an invasion of foreigners and their foreign gods after her daughters were raped and she was flogged." I think if you're talking about foreign gods, you don't capitalise the G. Let us treat this as exactly what it is. It's a grotesque historical appropriation. Boudica fought Roman imperialism, hardly a byword for multicultural tolerance, but a state religion of Jupiter and Caesar. There was no Protestantism, no England, and certainly no notion of racial nationalism. The anachronism is dizzying. To make Boudica a mascot of 21st century Protestant grievance is like making Robin Hood a libertarian tax protester or Alfred the Great a Brexiteer or a baker. Fidei Defensor began as a papal title for a Catholic king writing against Lutheran heresy. It became, through a legal sleight of Parliament, a Protestant rallying cry, and now, in a pluralistic society, it may become a symbol of interfaith stewardship, not a contradiction of the oath, but in the spirit of a monarchy that survives by evolution, not dogma. The king has not betrayed his title, he has reinterpreted it as monarchs must, not to rule over faith, but to embody its public conscience. And so faith, this article of belief, this principle that we are defined by religion culturally, linguistically, nationally, and we are empowered and enriched by religion. It's not about belief as such. It's not about what we believe. It's about what we have inherited as much as anything else. And so every so often I teach students and the subject of religion comes up, partly because I can't resist it. And one or two of these students will say, so some of them very young, say, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in religion. I don't think we should be talking about religion. I'm thinking, well, and I will say, religion is defined where we are. You only have to look around at the street names. What street do you live on? And they say, oh, I live on St. Patrick's Street. And I say, well, there you are. You are defined by religion. And the name of your street is of religious derivation. The coins that we use have religious connotations imprinted into them, and we can't escape the religious the influence of religion in our daily life. Both Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and other religious traditions are going all the way back to the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks, right the way back to there are two words for a door in Latin, and one of them can easily get confused with the word for harbour, but the other one gives us the word January, the door of the year. And so even when we're looking at the calendar, we are influenced by religious beliefs in the names that we've chosen for the months, in the names that we've chosen for the weeks. That takes us back even further. Religion defines our culture, and it's rather silly to think otherwise. So religious studies is something that schools should embrace properly, so that we understand, so that we recognize, so we are aware of the cultural significance of our religious heritage.